Greetings, friends. My name is Pavel Shtermo, and now we will unveil the top news of recent days. The International Register of Losses caused by the Russian army in Ukraine has begun its work. The Registry Council expects that between 300 and 600,000 individuals will submit claims for damages. Applications for compensation can be submitted to individuals and organizations whose property was damaged by shelling. This is reported on the registry website. Initially, the register will register applications of one category from Ukrainians whose real estate was damaged or destroyed as a result of hostilities. Later, other categories will open in the register, in which, among other things, applications for compensation for losses from damage or destruction of critical infrastructure, historical or cultural heritage will be registered. In addition, relatives of people killed as a result of Russian shelling, as well as Ukrainians who suffered from torture and sexual violence, will be able to file claims for damages. In addition, applications will be available to citizens who were forced to leave the territories of Ukraine occupied by Russian troops. The register was launched during the international conference Restoring Justice for Ukraine in The Hague. There, the foreign and justice ministers of various countries expressed their support for long-term efforts to combat impunity and compensate victims. It must also make progress in the 4 areas of the 7th point of the President Zelensky's peace formula. This is support for the national investigation and prosecution of international crimes by Ukraine itself, investigation and prosecution of crimes at the international level, including the crime of aggression, compensation for the damage caused, international coordination, cooperation, and exchange of information.
We altogether have created a real network of accountability. We appreciate very much the leadership of the Netherlands in promoting the idea of special tribunal for the crime of Russia's aggression. And I'm grateful to all countries and state leaders, international organizations, public leaders, representatives of the legal community who support the global work on investigating Russian war crimes and bringing those guilty to responsibility, bringing everyone who is guilty from political and military leadership of Russia to ordinary perpetrators. And I am confident that the activity of the International Criminal Court that has issued arrest warrant for Putin and is working on restoring full justice to all those affected by this war, both adults and children, is important for the entire world.
According to the results of the conference, 44 states out of 57 participants signed the political declaration. The declaration expresses support for the creation of a special tribunal for the crime of aggression and initiatives for the use of frozen assets of the Russian Federation to the benefit of Ukraine. In the country's declaration, the country recalls the decision of the UN Court from March 16, 2022, which obliged Russia to cease hostilities. The countries confirmed their intention to work on the creation of a special tribunal to bring Russia to justice for the crime of aggression against Ukraine, which would contribute to the punishment of the highest military and political leadership of the Russian Federation, and welcome significant progress in this matter, calling on states and international organizations to help develop a legal framework and international support to complete this process. We also welcome the readiness of the Netherlands to accept this special court. NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg is proposing to establish a fund of allied contributions worth $100 billion over 5 years for Ukraine as part of a package for alliance leaders to sign off when they gather in Washington in July, wrote Bloomberg. As media report, allies are still discussing Stoltenberg's proposal and any mechanism of their accounting, including whether to factor in bilateral aid to Ukraine into the overall sum, according to people familiar with the discussions.
We are now discussing ways to institutionalize more of the support within a NATO framework, to make it more predictable, to make it more robust, because we strongly believe that support to Ukraine should be less dependent on short-term voluntary offers and more dependent on long-term NATO commitments. By doing that, we will give Ukraine what they need. and that is long-term, predictable, robust support. And that will also send a message to Moscow that they cannot wait us out.
As part of the package, NATO could also take over the operational duties of the US-led Ukraine Contact Group on Defense, which coordinates weapons deliveries by about 50 countries to Ukraine, said the source of Bloomberg. With NATO's Supreme Allied Commander, General Chris Cavolli, in charge, such a step could protect the structure from any political change that may result after the November elections in the United States. If allies back Stoltenberg's proposal, a move by NATO to take a more active role in aid for Ukraine would mark a paradigm shift for the military alliance, which has previously distanced itself from those efforts to avoid being potentially drawn into a wider war with Russia. Yet institutionalizing NATO's support could signal their commitment to Ukraine for a long term. At a time when Russian self-proclaimed President Vladimir Putin is betting he can outlast the Kiev's allies, especially as members are unlikely to extend a formal invitation to Ukraine to join the alliance when leaders gather in early July in Washington. NATO's foreign ministers meet in Brussels. In addition to support for Ukraine, ministers are also likely to discuss who will succeed Stoltenberg when his term ends in October. They are most likely to confirm Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte for the role. Another candidate, Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas, on Tuesday said in a post on social media platform X that she backs Rutte for NATO's Secretary General. Lithuanian President Gitanas Nausėda said at a press conference in Vilnius that he too had endorsed the Dutch leader. As we know, Rutte is very supportive of Ukraine, and therefore there is no reason to doubt our country's continued support for the alliance, no matter how the Kremlin tries to convince everyone of the futility of these actions. To protect its ships from Ukrainian surface drones, Russia has installed 4 barges at the entrance at Novorossiysk Bay. This is reported by British intelligence referring to satellite images. Ukraine's attacks forced Russia to transfer the most valuable assets of its Black Sea fleet to Novorossiysk. Only during March, the Russian patrol ship Sergei Kotov sank, and the ships Konstantin Alshansky and Ivan Hurs, Yamal and Azov were significantly damaged. The Russian Black Sea Fleet in full left Crimea. This statement was made by the Speaker of the Ukrainian Naval Forces, Dmytro Plevenchuk. The fleet was considered their main force in Crimea. Now it has practically left Crimea in full force. I mean that most of the combat units, if we take cruise missile carriers, have actually all been relocated. According to him, only those ships remained in Crimea that the Russian military didn't mind, and the main combat units were withdrawn. We can say that they left there. If not those who were not to be pitied, then those who perhaps simply had nowhere to be placed at their base in Novorossiysk. The Russian Black Sea Fleet doesn't dare to sail in the Black Sea, and now, as seen by The Guardian, the main intelligence directorate of Ukraine is preparing a special operation to destroy the Crimean Bridge in the first half of 2024. That concludes our today's video. Thank you for watching. Stay updated, comment, like and subscribe to our UATV English channel for more news from Ukraine. Your support is what really matters. Goodbye.